Imagine discovering that the invisible force you have spent your entire life trying to escape is the exact mechanism designed to unlock your greatest potential. You dedicate endless hours to meditation apps, you avoid difficult conversations, and you treat a racing heart like a ticking time bomb. Society insists that you must reduce the pressure, retreat from chaos, and find a state of uninterrupted calm to protect your health. But what if mainstream medicine has been feeding you a dangerous narrative? What if the relentless pursuit of a frictionless life is causing more damage than the friction itself? The truth is, stress is not the silent killer you have been warned about. The pressure you feel in your chest is a biological superpower waiting to be harnessed. Today, we dismantle the lies surrounding human pressure and rebuild a foundation of resilience. Module 1. The Deadly Belief. From the moment we enter the modern workforce, a singular message bombards our screens and conversations. Stress will destroy you. When the demands of a project multiply or financial burdens mount, the physical symptoms manifest immediately. A dull ache tightens the base of your skull, your jaw clenches tight enough to crack enamel, and your shoulders rise toward your ears. In these moments, a secondary panic sets in. You do not just worry about the deadline. You worry that the physiological burden is shaving years off your lifespan. You become terrified of your own biology, convinced that every rush of adrenaline pushes you one step closer to a hospital bed. This terror is not irrational. It is a direct result of decades of health campaigns warning us about the toxic nature of modern life. However, the data tells a vastly different, more sinister story about what is actually causing the damage. In 1998, researchers at the University of Wisconsin initiated a massive tracking project involving 30,000 adults across the United States. For 8 years, they monitored these individuals, starting with 2 fundamental questions. How much stress have you experienced, and do you believe that this stress is harming your health? The results shook the medical community. When researchers correlated the survey data with public death records, they uncovered a staggering 43% increase in the risk of dying among those who experienced high levels of stress. This equated to an estimated 182,000 premature deaths over the study period, or roughly 20,000 deaths every single year. To put that in perspective, this death toll makes the belief that stress is bad the 15th leading cause of death in the United States, killing more people than skin cancer, HIV, AIDS, and homicide combined. But here is the mind-bending twist that changes everything. That 43% spike in mortality applied only to the people who believed their stress was a toxic threat. The individuals who reported massive amounts of stress but did not view it as harmful experienced the exact opposite outcome. They had the absolute lowest risk of death out of anyone in the study, boasting a mortality rate even lower than the participants who lived completely peaceful, stress-free lives. The tension in this discovery is immense. The external pressure of your job or personal life is not the weapon destroying your body. Your thoughts about the pressure are pulling the trigger. When you frame your daily struggles as a threat to your existence, your body obliges, deteriorating under the weight of a manufactured enemy. The singular solution to this epidemic is to fundamentally rewrite your core belief system regarding adversity. You must stop treating your natural arousal as a disease to be cured. When the pressure mounts, you must actively label the experience as a mechanism of growth. Tell yourself that the friction is preparing you for the obstacle ahead. Acknowledge the weight on your shoulders, but decide that it is building your strength rather than breaking your spine. By changing the narrative in your mind, you stop the premature aging of your cells, but a mental shift is just the beginning. How does changing your philosophy alter the physical geometry of your heart? The answer lies in the hidden mechanics of your blood vessels. Module 2. The Biology of Courage. Picture yourself moments before stepping onto a stage to deliver a high-stakes presentation, or sitting in the sterile waiting room before a crucial job interview. The physical takeover is undeniable. Your palms produce a slick sheen of sweat, your breath grows shallow and erratic, and a frantic drumbeat echoes in your chest. The dominant advice from well-meaning friends is always the same: take deep breaths, relax, and calm down. This advice reinforces the internal narrative that your body is malfunctioning, that the pounding in your chest is a prelude to failure. When you perceive this high-pressure scenario as a mortal threat, your physiological response becomes a defensive barricade. Your blood vessels physically constrict, narrowing the pathways for oxygen to travel through your body. This chronic narrowing restricts blood flow to the heart and the brain, starving your organs of vital resources. This exact biological constriction, repeated over years of feeling threatened, is the primary mechanism that leads to cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, and systemic burnout. You feel dizzy, cornered, and suffocated because your body is preparing for physical damage. A fascinating experiment conducted at Harvard University exposed the malleability of this biological response. Researchers brought participants into a laboratory and deliberately placed them in highly stressful, pressurized situations. As expected, the majority of the subjects exhibited the classic threat response, showing dangerous constriction in their blood vessels. Yet, there was a subset of participants whose cardiovascular systems behaved in a radically different manner. Their hearts pounded with the same intense speed, but their blood vessels remained wide open, relaxed, and fully dilated. This biological state is not associated with panic. It mirrors the exact physical profile of a human experiencing profound joy, intense bravery, or peak athletic performance. Why did this specific group thrive while the others choked? The researchers had primed these individuals beforehand, teaching them to rethink their stress response as a helpful asset. They were told that their rapid heartbeat was not a sign of failure, but rather a sophisticated biological pump, driving extra oxygen to their brain to prepare them for decisive action. By interpreting the physical jolt as a tool for success, they became less anxious and more confident, and their physical stress response shifted from toxic constriction to healthy dilation. The solution is to reinterpret your physical sensations in real time. When your heart races before a daunting task, you must intervene and reject the panic label. Speak directly to your own physiology. Tell yourself, "My body is giving me the energy I need to conquer this obstacle. This pounding heart is my unfair advantage." This singular cognitive reframing literally changes your cardiovascular profile. By accepting the physical jolt rather than fighting it, you transform a panic response into a courage response. You force your blood vessels to stay open, feeding your brain the oxygen required for genius. But courage is not the only chemical your body produces under pressure. There is another deeply social hormone flooding your system right now, and ignoring it might be the reason you feel so isolated in your struggles. Module 3, the tend and befriend response. When life hits you with crushing setbacks, a sudden financial crisis, a devastating medical diagnosis, or a brutal breakup, the instinct is often to retreat into the shadows. You pull the curtains closed, ignore text messages, and cancel plans, letting the physical weight of isolation press down on your chest. A hollow ache develops in your gut. You convince yourself that you must bear the burden alone, believing that sharing your pain makes you a burden to others. You suffer in silence, waiting for the storm to pass. For generations, science supported this solitary approach to hardship, teaching us that humans possess only two reactions to danger: fight or flight. This binary model suggests that under pressure, you must either attack the threat or run away and hide. However, this model leaves us feeling defective when we crave comfort instead of combat. The revelation came when Laura Cousineau-Klein, a postdoctoral researcher at UCLA, uncovered a massive blind spot in historical stress literature. She discovered that 90% of early published research on stress was conducted exclusively on males. When scientists broadened their scope to study diverse human demographics, they uncovered a third, incredibly powerful biological pathway: the tend and befriend response. During moments of severe anxiety, your brain does not just produce adrenaline. Your pituitary gland pumps out large quantities of oxytocin. This is the exact same hormone released when you hug a loved one, bond with a child, or experience deep social connection. The presence of oxytocin in a stress response proves that humans are biologically wired to seek out others during times of crisis. The tension emerges when we realize the cost of ignoring this instinct. Oxytocin is not merely an emotional comfort molecule. It is a profound cardiovascular medicine. It acts as a natural anti-inflammatory that helps your blood vessels stay relaxed and physically regenerates your heart cells, healing the microtears caused by exertion. When you suppress the urge to connect, retreat into a dark room, and choose isolation, you deny your body its own built-in healing mechanism. You trap the stress inside your system without an outlet, turning a temporary crisis into chronic trauma. The solution is to leverage your stress as a relentless catalyst for connection. When you feel overwhelmed, recognize that your biological imperative is to reach out. Call a trusted mentor, volunteer to help a neighbor, or simply sit with a friend and articulate your struggles. Doing so activates the tend and befriend response, transforming your stress into a tool for deepening your relationships. By leaning into the community rather than hiding from it, you allow your body to heal its own heart. But this profound realization raises a challenging question. If stress connects us and heals us, why do we spend our lives dreaming of a frictionless existence? Module 4. The meaning stress connection. It is a universal fantasy to wish for a life entirely devoid of stress. You close your eyes and imagine a permanent vacation on a quiet, sun-drenched beach, free from impending deadlines, crying children, and demanding bosses. You assume this frictionless existence would bring a state of endless joy, characterized by relaxed muscles, deep sleep, and a permanent, carefree smile. We build our retirement plans and weekend escapes around this central goal: the total eradication of pressure. The reality, however, paints a much darker picture of the human psyche. When we systematically eliminate stress from our daily routines, we often eliminate our core sense of purpose. A completely stress-free life manifests physically as lethargy. Shoulders slump, the gaze becomes empty and glazed, and a persistent fog of boredom settles over the mind. Stanford health psychologist Kelly McGonigal highlights a striking correlation drawn from global data. Stress goes hand in hand with a meaningful life. Extensive psychological surveys and Gallup polls consistently demonstrate that populations reporting the lowest levels of stress also report the lowest levels of daily joy, purpose, and satisfaction. Conversely, people who lead busier, more demanding lives tend to be much happier. And individuals with a strong sense of purpose tend to live significantly longer. The friction you feel on a daily basis is not a sign that your life is falling apart. It is a sign that you are meaningfully engaged in things that matter. We experience stress precisely because we care deeply about the outcomes of our endeavors. Whether it is raising a rebellious teenager, building a startup from scratch, or mastering a complex art form, the pursuits that bring the deepest meaning are inherently demanding, frustrating, and fraught with difficulty. Trying to construct a life with zero stress means constructing a life with zero significance. You cannot insulate yourself from pressure without also insulating yourself from love, ambition, and triumph. The solution is to redefine your fundamental metric of a successful life. Stop judging the quality of your days by how little stress you endured, and start judging them by how much meaning you pursued. Accept that the friction you feel in your chest is the undeniable side effect of participating in a life that matters. When you embrace the burden of purpose, the accompanying stress stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like the vital driving pulse of an active existence. Yet knowing that stress brings long-term meaning is only half the battle. How do you harness this raw, explosive energy in the exact second you are tested? Module 5. Harnessing the energy. You are standing backstage, gripping a microphone, or sitting in your car gripping the steering wheel before walking into a room that could change your career. Your stomach is tied in cold knots, your jaw is locked, and your legs feel like heavy lead. Your instinct is to force a state of calm. You close your eyes, take slow breaths, and try to visualize a serene landscape. You try to push the chaotic energy down, but the more you try to relax, the more you feel like a tightly coiled spring ready to snap. Attempting to suppress your stress response in high-stakes environments is a recipe for catastrophic failure. When you try to force relaxation on top of a massive biological arousal, your brain experiences a severe cognitive dissonance. You are telling your body there is no danger, but your neurochemistry is screaming that survival is on the line. This internal conflict drains your working memory, clouds your judgment, and causes the exact phenomenon known as choking under pressure. Your body is flooding your system with potent resources, cortisol, adrenaline, and glucose, specifically designed to elevate your performance, sharpen your focus, and give you the stamina to succeed. Think about professional athletes in the moments before a championship game. When their names are announced, they do not sit in silence trying to lower their heart rates. They jump, shout, and channel the nervous energy bouncing through their muscles. They embrace the arousal for peak performance. By trying to breathe the arousal away and force a state of calm, you are literally throwing away the biological resources you need to perform at your peak. You are pouring water on the exact fire that is meant to power your engine. The singular solution is to relabel your anxiety as excitement. Do not try to lower your heart rate. Instead, ride the wave of the adrenaline. Channel that restless, buzzing sensation in your limbs into dynamic movement, sharp articulation, and fierce focus. Tell yourself out loud, "I am excited, and this energy is here to help me win." When you reframe the sensation, you align your mind with your body's natural evolutionary design. You stop fighting the current and start using it to propel you forward. You now know how to master your internal stress. But the external pressure of navigating difficult people remains a constant challenge. To discover the timeless psychological strategies for winning allies, diffusing conflicts, and multiplying your influence, click the video on your screen for How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, right now.